another episode.
Oh, wait a second. I'm not sure if we're live for sure, because right there it says,
Oh,
there we
now
go.
we are.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, now we'll start.
Yes.
Welcome to another episode of Conscious Straight Talk with Katie and Lindsey.
Hi, good morning.
I'm so happy to see you guys today. Today we're actually going to talk about something that affects over 3 million Americans every year.
Yep.
And that's
in the U.S.
In the U.S.
Just in the U.S.
Well, that's where Americans live.
Oh, sorry, got a little lost
It's
there.
Wednesday,
Yes.
one of those days. So anyway, we're going to talk about borderline personality disorder. And in the next upcoming weeks, we're going to start taking a different personality disorder with each different show and kind of going over that so you guys can become more aware of what these things look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's
because
really hard to tell, and sometimes you meet these people, especially today, the borderlines, and they are so charismatic and so just wonderful, and you would have no idea what you were dealing with.
Yeah.
And so it's
the
really
average
important.
person doesn't.
No.
And so I think it's important to like go over these things, and as we grow and become more conscious people, we can become more aware and understand what's going on with other people.
I agree. And I think something that I want to add is that this might be our best friend. This might be somebody we're married to. We're our partner, whatever it is. And so, and you might not even know that this is who you're with. And so it's important to understand the dynamics or the characteristics and traits and whatever else.
And as you're learning to communicate, I think it gives you a better understanding of, okay, this is the mentality of that person.
Exactly.
You'll have an easier way of getting your point across. So let's go over some of the characteristics first of borderline personality disorder.
Okay.
And I'm going to kind of let you lead the way because I know you
trait? Okay.
You deal a lot more with this with your clients.
Yes.
And I know that borderline is something that you actually focus on quite a bit.
I do.
So
I have a lot of borderline clients.
I think one of the characteristics I think is abandonment, right? They
Right.
have abandonment issues, or they run easily or something.
No.
That type?
So an example.
That's why you're here.
An example of this is fear of abandonment. So these people tend to kind of glom onto you, just kind of attach themselves like an octopus. And then if you start to pull back because you start to see some characteristics that maybe you don't like, then they get very nervous and they feel this abandonment. So that's what that looks like. So that's
and I think that kind of leads to turbulent relationships as well. Is that another characteristic?
Yeah. So it's definitely there. That's, I'd say, is number one, are turbulent relationships. So you will see usually them fighting with their family or emotional cutoff with their family, and there's usually a reason for that. Friends, they're best friends, and then they hate each other. Relationships, lots of times they don't. Most of the time, they don't go into therapy until they've either had a nervous breakdown or their partner is like, I'm leaving you, so you better go to therapy. And that's when they show up in the room.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think a couple other ones are like black and white thinking.
Yes. So it's black and white thinking that kind of are no shades of gray.
Is it kind of
gray.
like a your way or the highway, their way or the highway sort of a deal?
It's that there aren't shades of gray. It's the never and the always. It's this is what it is. I see this, like I said, a lot in my practice. So a way that this looks in my practice is they will put me, Katie, on a pedestal like I'm the Queen of England. Hello. Oh, wait, where's my arm? There you go. But I'm not the Queen of England. And then if they feel me starting to maybe pull back or something that they don't like, which happens, then they don't like you. So then they just push you down. You're just pushed off that pedestal. So that's the way it looks.
They can just block you out, not talk to you anymore.
Well, yes. Or they push you off the pedestal and keep talking to you. But lots of times, yes, they just cut you off. Yeah.
And then I know self-harm, suicidal thoughts.
Yeah. So there's a lot of self-harm that goes along with this disorder. So we're looking at like cutting, burning themselves. As far as suicidal thoughts, suicidal ideation is the same as suicidal thoughts, talking about suicide, attempting suicide. I'm not actually sure how many times they actually accomplish suicide, but there's definitely a lot of threats and a lot of trying it. Yeah. I see that a lot. Yep.
Mood swings, impulsive behaviors.
Yes. So the mood swings, basically, I would liken it to this group of people. And I want you to know something really quickly, too, is that we all have some of these traits. So it's not like I'm saying this group is a pariah or anything like that. We all have some of these traits. It's just these people have more of these traits. So which one?
And I think they're a little bit more extreme in them too, right?
Yeah. Yes,
I think when you are emotionally healthy and sound and on a good path, I think you have more of an ability to register and make choices, right?
Make better choices.
Whereas someone with borderline personality disorder,
they need help. So wait, I didn't answer your question.
Mood swings and impulsive behavior and dissociation.
Okay, so the mood swings, so the impulsive behavior, let me say, goes to there's a lot of like drinking or
maybe
gambling, porn, any of that kind of stuff, sexual addictions, cheating. So that would be the impulsivity. The mood swings, I liken it to somebody that's on the Colossus at Magic Mountain. Do you guys know what the Colossus is? Do you know what the Colossus is? You don't?
She's not a big roller coaster person. They scare me.
I love roller coasters.
It just sounds like something I don't want to go on.
Okay, somebody who's on a tidal wave, or they're on big 10-foot, 20-foot waves all the time. And so the goal would bring them down to smaller waves.
Yes.
Because life comes in waves. Yes.
And the dissociation, I think, is interesting, too.
Okay, so the dissociation is kind of hard to explain. It's when something is... Usually, and we're going to get into this, these people were abused in their childhood. And so when something feels emotionally uncomfortable, because their emotional regulation is so hard for them to do just on their own, when something feels uncomfortable, they just kind of dissociate, which means they're kind of looking down on themselves. They're able to kind of
leave
their
out
body.
Of their reality for a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe even create an own fantasy.
They
and just go in that for a little while.
Do. It's like your brain steps out of your body and you're looking down on yourself. Is the best way I could describe it. What do you think?
Yeah.
You think that's
a
good way?
think also maybe not even to that level, but just go into a fantasy or just just block out whatever's happening.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's true. That's very true.
So those are a lot of the characteristics to look for, right?
Yeah.
Now, what age does this usually start to show
up, manifest? So this usually shows up when people are in their mid to late teens.
That young.
Yes. Often it's not diagnosed until much later because, like I said, they don't usually come into the therapy room until something terrible's happened. But I would say 15
So people,
to 19
parents
to
should
20.
be looking out for this in their children.
Yes.
These signs.
Although lots of times the parents have caused it. So, it's kind of challenging. Not always. Not always.
But it's good for parents, if they're here and they're looking and they want to learn, that's awesome. And
right.
Those are things. I didn't think that it was affecting teenagers.
Yes. Oh, it definitely is. But like I said, you need to see them for a long while to diagnose them. I would say at least 10 sessions. I don't know if I said that before. And something else that's very important to note is that personality disorders don't just go away. It's a lifetime endeavor of working on themselves.
Yeah.
As we all have to work
and
on
I know
ourselves.
that here, and I know with my practice, I focus a lot on the cognitive behavioral therapy,
right?
But there are cases, a lot of cases, as we just saw with 3 million Americans, where that does require medication. There is a chemical imbalance. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So what I advise and what most therapists or people that know are at the top of the subject advise is that these people need therapy. It's usually cognitive behavioral therapy. They also, groups are helpful because people call them out and then they can kind of see themselves a little bit more.
I think there's a lot of power in group healing.
I agree. There is. And then medication helps them just regulate their emotions a bit. So instead of those 10-foot waves, it should bring them down to maybe a 7-foot wave or a 6-foot wave. They should still be them, but just a calmer them.
But with the medications, I know that it helps the neurotransmitters.
Okay, yes. And with personality disorders, there's a ton of comorbidity, meaning that you see a lot of depression, anxiety, and all of that. And so that has to do with your neurotransmitters and or an imbalance in them. And so the anti-anxiety, anti-depression meds help regulate these neurotransmitters. So it's very important to do all of the above, plus self-care. So the group therapy, the individual therapy, the meds, and then a lot of self-care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the masterclass, right? Because that's where we...
Yes.
That is where we're going to be dealing with a lot of this unhealed trauma that can help these people.
Yes, and let me point out, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking the whole time. I'm so
but that's
sorry,
what you're
people.
here
for. What I see over and over again is I see trauma in the childhood. So usually I see sexual abuse. Usually I see sexual abuse, but it doesn't have to be sexual abuse. It can be physical, emotional abuse. And so
I think actually what you just said, this is an interesting thing too. As parents, you'll know as parents, it's, and you know, if you are dealing with that, with your child having been sexually abused, it's good to know this information to look out to try to guide them through that as well.
That's very true. And something that Lindsey actually noted earlier to me is that it can be that PTSD/trauma can get very confused with personality disorders because
that happens a lot.
Yes, because
where they just diagnose as a personality disorder, but they're actually suffering from PTSD or CPTSD.
Exactly. And so, but the reason is that I would say, I can't give the exact statistic. I can only tell you what I've seen in my room, but 99% of the ones that I've seen in my room have experienced abuse. And it's usually at the hands of their parents, but not always. So, yes.
And that's why we're excited to offer this masterclass and the 7-week program to really dig in and address those issues, right? And we can really get to that stuff, you guys. So that's it for today, I think, right? And on Friday, we're going to be talking about depression.
Oh, one other thing.
Yes.
I wanted to say, I think the best book to get if you're interested in people with borderline personality disorder is Walking on Eggshells. I don't have the book in front of me or the author in front of me, but it's easy to look up. That's a really great
That's a great idea
book.
for more learning and understanding. And I don't know who writes it.
I can't remember
who.
Oh,
Description.
it's the best book, in my opinion, for borderline. Yeah.
Great. All right, you guys. So we will see you on Friday. We're going to talk all about depression and get ready for the masterclass next week. If you haven't yet, head over to MalibuMamaLoves.com and drop your email in there so that we can get you all the worksheets for next week and get you up to date.
Did they get to press like?
Press like if you like the video.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, guys.